Mastering our hearts. I want to talk about the nature of, well, we would call it suicide prevention, right? I have been dealing with so many people who have struggled in their minds about what it is to do soul embodiment videos. There are going to be people who will say, I feel like I'm losing my mind. It can be a struggle, it can be a choice for many at some point about whether or not they are able to handle the vision of I am. Right? These are those souls who will come through and say it can be tragic for certain people to place their hearts in the idea of I'm of guidance. Okay? When you know that your heart is bringing through the visions of love for all, that's a different vision versus I am able to handle the souls that need to have their hearts handed to them. This is not saying that these messages of love are going to resonate with everybody. So I want to talk about the nature of grief as well. When we do this work where we say to ourselves, I thought I was having a stroke, right? I know how to handle people on an intuitive level is where some people go. Other people are saying, I'm the master of soul. This is where many will eventually find themselves. Because in essence, it's not about allowing people their own vision of what is or isn't reality for them, right? We're going to talk about the nature of how to give guidance for those who say, I don't have the guidance of a soul to tap into. Does that mean that my guidance is less than? Many are going to feel offended by the idea of, is my guidance, not as good? This is not about saying it's not as good. Literally, it's an acknowledgement of the process that people are going through right now. Many people will start to understand the nature of, I am guiding people in a system that is beautiful for them, right? It can be. What we have to honor are those souls who are saying, this isn't for me. This system is holding me back. Or this system is putting me on a path that may not be for my family, right? Some people are still struggled with the idea that my family tree values are somehow in conflict with who I am. Or is it that they just don't understand? See, a lot of people are assuming that soul vision is less than or is somehow bad. And those in the spiritual enlightenment visions will know very well it can be a tragic scenario for certain souls to think, oh, I'm ready to go on the road, right? And start just giving out guidance. You know what you know, right? I know people who assume they know what guidance actually is for every single soul. I am not here to do that vision. What I am saying is that there is beauty in all, and that's the nature of love, right? That's the nature of where we go. So when someone says, I might be misaligned, that's where we want people to really start to think about the idea of what is it that is allowing us to feel like we are either in alignment with others or not. So instead of people taking things so personally, we have to really understand that for those of us that tap into the nature of I am of guides, right? Whose vision? I know how to tap into the nature of soul. Now, I'm going to be very honest with my vision questing for various people. There are people who are here to develop the traits of a guide. There are people who are here to do the work of soul. There are people who are here to honor the vision of love for all guidance. And then there are those of us who say, I'm tapped into the nature of love for all souls, and therefore I can bring through those higher visions of love where those outcomes come true. Now, some are going to demean the vision of an outcome. When you go to your own heart, your outcomes become very much in play because it's the validation that many will seek in assuming that they are working with their own heart. Others are going to say, I want the highest of the highs. Who is that for you? This is not a discounting of any source of wisdom, right? But when we tell you that the light is very bright for soul workers, we mean that's the next place to head for most people. Because in essence, we love the vision of all. We love the vision of I am of love for everybody. I just don't agree with everybody's way of being. I don't necessarily need to be the same as they are, correct? It's the nature of who we are. We get to express in our beauty. So for those of you that are getting offended, because you might be sitting there thinking, I've got it all figured out, there are multiple levels of understanding of soul. We do not vibrate with every single soul being in the universal vision of love, correct? Do you want to know what that vision feels like? It means I've tapped into the nature of who I am as a soul, and I vibrate in the beauty of it. That's the nature of what that brings to most souls. When they can align with the vision of universal wisdom, then it becomes part of it. Your own soul knows how to do the work. Some of us are saying, I want to be a guide for those on this plane. Others are saying, I can bring through the wisdom from all souls. And that means whether or not they were on this plane or on the next. There's no level of vibration that some souls will want to hit. This is all about vibration and frequency for the most part. I don't vibrate in the vision of victim for most things. Let's put it that way. So usually in those heart-centered souls, we would say, I'm going to take you gently in my heart, and I'm going to allow your visions of love to filter through to the ends of time. There is no such thing as linear time. That's something that we created. This is one of those visions of love that's been handed down to us over the eons. It's getting faster, isn't it? That means that for those of you that are thinking that I can't tell you the future, it's still playing out on various levels. It's about where your soul rides. That's why when I say I can hit various levels of soul, it means that I don't limit who I am in either this present vision nor in my past or my quote future. I ride very few trains of love. Let's put it that way. There's a vision of what that means. It's like riding a train and asking yourself, why am I not on a train? Right? How many people are saying, I've been given guidance for people for a long time, and I still have people who are saying, I still trust a guide from a book more than I am my own soul. That's when you start to have to wonder, am I cut out for the career that I think I am? If I am still looking for someone else's soul as a guide, that's one thing, right? The collective vision of love. Versus I'm giving a reading for someone and I'm utilizing someone else's wisdom as the ticket into their heart. It will not be denied as beauty by any soul, because a lot of times, in essence, it may be just what they need, right? How many people know that vision is being destroyed by a lot of soul workers who are in the spiritual paradigms? Because they know when they hear their soul calling, they come a-running. Okay? That's the nature of what we can do. Okay, we can align with those who are on the screen or in person, and we can say, why is it that you're having the struggle that you're having. I myself am having a certain struggle. I've been in grief mode for 2.5 to 3 weeks. It's also one of those visions of, why am I not bringing through more and more guidance every day? That's going to be where I'm at some point. People need to hear the vision of what it's like to go through soul embodiment. It's not for everybody. I want people to be very careful about what they create. This is about aligning with those visions of, what other visions of hurt have I not healed from? Do I love who I am? Do I honor the vision of Jesus as a soul? I carry that weight for a person in my life who deems me less than. Can you imagine? I've done the vision of soul embodiment where I get direct wisdom from my soul that aligns me not just with me, but with others around me that I create with, or those who are on the screen. And I say, how dare you tell me my vision is less than? I would not do that for you, nor would I do that for me. That's the nature of what soul wisdom will be coming through with that idea, because so many souls are still in the idea that we have to look outside of our own vision as better than. These are higher level visions, correct? But they are there for us to embody and be of service. But do they give us it's like the needed guidance that we need in the moment? Jesus can come through and say, I am all that he wants. Does he tell me how to pay my bills? That's a good question, right? How many people want to know? Do you want to know how to pay your bills? Do you want to know where your next clients are going to come from? Do you think Jesus might have a play-by-play in that vision? Or do you think it might be more along the lines of who we actually create with in the moment? Am I creating with Jesus as a client, or am I creating with souls? You see the strength of soul. So this is not about me trying to hit a note in the heavenly realms or some other realm of love, because he rides in various realms of love. He's not just for religion, he's of soul. And his vision would be, I'm going to keep talking and keep honoring the vision of those who say that I'm of religion. He's not religious. That was not his strength. He was there to do the work that was needed in the moment to bring through guidance. Now, he's passing the torch on to other visions, right? He's always there in the vision of love for all. That's where we all ride, to be honest. Whether or not you create with him directly or indirectly, he's part of the all. And that's the beauty of it. So it's not a discounting of anyone's love of soul or of God or of, any vision. Okay? There's more to be coming through about Jesus at some point. And in essence, that vision starts to learn and spiral up in the vision of what Christ actually is as well. Those in the religious realms will have their own understanding of what that vision is. The guidance, though, for it is about to blow people's minds. This is why we're saying hold on tight, because it's going to get a little rocky for certain people if they kind of don't understand about, I need to rise up into the vision of love for myself and my own soul so I can create from a place of beauty. So I'm not, it's like the havoc monsters. I have a lot of people who create havoc in my sphere of influence, okay? Because in essence, I still have souls that I love that would never, ever have a soul session with me. Do I dishonor their visions by saying they're less than? Absolutely not. Do I want them to have the strength, beauty, wisdom, and guidance of their own soul? Of course I do. Why wouldn't we, right? It's not their cup of tea, and that's where most people need to go. Okay, this is one of those strengths. So mastering our hearts is an honesty in the difficulty that it takes to allow ourselves to grieve our losses. We're going to lose people in our life for the most part. Many people will when they go to soul guidance, because in essence what happens is people start to get afraid, or they might just be a little curious. What is it that you know that I don't? Many men and women are aligning with the love of their lives on a soul level. And then those visions come into form here on this plane. That's what you get access to. So when you hear the vision of your soulmate coming through, you say, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And then others will say, but wait, I've been with more than one, right? How many people want to talk about that nature of, I love who I am? It's not just about finding the romantic vision of love, but that's a beautiful vision for many. We're going to start talking about the nature of our hearts and what that vision can do when you start to create with the love of your life from a different plane of development. Those are those tricky situations that can sometimes get us into trouble. So this is not about trying to make it harder. What we want most people to understand is that you come to this place of I am whole, right? This is where soul work comes in. And we try to say, where am I flourishing first? Let's reinforce those visions of where do I flourish in my vision? Where do I see myself being of soul strength? Is it wisdom? Is it guidance? Is it the ability to touch people in their hearts and minds? Is it the ability to give them what? There's a kiss on the cheek for some people. These are the words that you'll often hear from your higher self too. You'll hear the loving wisdom. It's like the wisdom of the ages can come through, right? How many people want to know what that means? How many people want to know what it means to be of soul and to have your heart handed to you left and right by certain people who just won't let go? We have those souls who are afraid of being attacked on a certain level. We're discarding those visions very fast for the most part, but it comes into play sometimes. I'll allow men to come into my vision only, is where certain men are. I will not allow a female to tell me how to be. Little do you know, you are not male or female as soul for the most part. You create from various levels. You can create from whatever level you want, but there are certain ideas about how many people think that they're just going to align with one vision of who they think they are. Your higher self has many visions for you. It's up to you to decide where you want to land on that vision of multiple, identities. It's not about identities. It's about the nature of knowing that you are creating from various fields of vision and that you have the strength to access all. Now, when your own vision of love comes through and says, I want that one, the one that can tell me my hidden strengths or my hidden weaknesses. How many people say, I don't create from a place of weakness? These are those limitations we place upon ourselves. I don't buy into a lot of limited belief sets for the most part. What I do is I honor the visions of those that actually support me in my growth. I want to grow. Does that mean I have to take on the challenge of others that I don't necessarily care for? Yes, it does. That's who I am. So if people don't like the fact that Ross Perot came through for me, how many people remember that wild card in the political ideology spectrum? You know how many people don't want to play in that field of vision? And yet this is what's affecting us on a day-by-day basis, correct? When we open up the newspapers, it's the internet for the most part. He was the one that was giving me the vision of we are in danger of losing our country. And voila, right? How many people were discounting of his vision? Do we want to go back to that kind of soul where we say, I told you, right? These are the souls that have the influence, the understanding, and the wisdom. They are the deal makers of the world, the power players of life, right? And yet, what we're saying to ourselves is we all matter. We all matter. We all matter. We are all creating that. And yet we are looking outside of ourselves to those souls and saying, let's look at everybody else and demean them for who they are. I don't. What I do is I say, who do I align with in my mind? Do I honor their vision as what? As soul, of course. As the wisdom keeper of what? A Bible? He was of strength in that vision as well in his own way. Do we need to hear about his vision of religion? Right? So it's about aligning our visions with those who actually have the information that can help us see it for what it is. It's a long way for Perot to come back into the nature of I was of strength of money, and I did my best to help a lot of people with their jobs. The demeaning of the vibrancy of his soul would come through very strong. By many standards now, many people have different ideas about what's going to happen in their minds. Many people are assuming this country is it's like the struggling of it. It's having its growth spurt. This country, 'tis of thee, is definitely going through some changes. Now, when people see that, then they start to pay attention. Do you think they stop creating when they cross over to the other field of vision? Or do you think we might all be there already creating the perfect scenario for love of all? This is what this country is supposed to be about. It was that United Nations that's honoring of that vision, by the way. So in essence, this is not about saying I agree or disagree with any one vision of what a political ideology is or isn't, but it's playing out beautifully for those who love the challenge of it. It's a challenge for us to see the strength, wisdom of those who don't necessarily align with us in our own minds, but to see it playing out beautifully on a soul level. And what does that mean? It means we are not in nuclear vibration. Do you want to know why? Because that's where the creative visions of all lie. We are not here to do nuclear war at this point in time. His vision would be aligned with a higher vision. He would say, I would go with a higher vision than my own. But in essence, it's a perspective for those of us here to see what is or isn't valid in the minds of many. This shows you the strength of your own beauty forevermore it's like the lasting soul vision. You don't necessarily have to keep the identity that you have here when you cross over into another field of vision. Many will continue to create with various levels of who they were from various perspectives. Moments in time is what I deal with, right? So that was just one moment in the life of my soul to remember and honor a soul who would say, I was the wild card and I almost made it. The three-party system, right? Many are looking for other visions. Don't discount those socialist visions. That's what he's saying. They're going to go high because it's not about saying I'm a socialist. It's about saying I love everybody. Whoever gets there first is the winner. Let's think about that for a change. Now, when we say that, that gives you a hint about a forecasting of future. And it's not about the next election. Okay. People are going to discount that immediately because they're going to say, I don't see any changes happening in the next 3 to 5 years that's going to really change the soul level understanding, right? This is about that nature of beautiful visions coming through, saying, I love your style. I love your grace. Give us grace to be part of the process. This is where we're saying those souls who are being demeaned in their minds and on the screen are still part of the collective vision. And they very much do indeed create a lot of wisdom on a soul level for many. And that's why their visions are very prominent on the screens in their moments. The prominence of visions, right? People will say, I don't listen to them because they don't make any sense to me. If you think carefully, how many people would say, I would rather see Brenda do her own work and lift herself up out of the vision of I've got it's a guide of family, versus I'm going to talk about the nature of the Supreme Court justice. I've had to do that work. Here's the difference. We're going to talk about development of our hearts as well, which means, do I align with the vision that I've got to go rescue everybody? What does that mean? Guidance is what guidance is. I'm not here to label it anything other than beautiful. That's the nature of it. Now, if we want to clarify those visions that people are reacting to about the nature of whether or not their vision is better than mine, then we can go there. I love you for who you are. I love that your souls create beauty wherever you walk. That's who I am. I know how to do that work. If it means that some people's minds are triggered, so be it. It's the reality in which we walk as soul. I don't have to demean you in your vision, is what some people will say, right? This is the nature of the internet. We get those hearts that want to, light up the screens. And yet, in essence, they're saying, but you're not hitting those high notes. In essence, what people are thinking they want is the highest of the highs, right? Do you know what it's like to walk with your soul? Do you know what it's like to feel the vibration of being held while you grieve? Do you want to know what it's like to feel the vision of I'm giving you someone else's grief? Those are for those empathic visions that many are placing upon the screen as well. Okay? We don't need to do that work for the most part. So, in essence, what I'm trying to tell people is I'm back in the saddle again, right? I kept hearing about the nature of the white knight. This is what a lot of people assume soul work is. We're here to do the work that allows us to actually go in, vibrate within our soul, and ask ourselves, why did I do X versus Y? I was being held accountable for someone else's sin. Can you imagine that? Because in essence, they're of the vision of I am of sin, and because I brought through their vision, I'm being held accountable for it. That's what certain people are assuming this whole vision is, right? How many people say, I place my vision on someone else so that they can take away all of my sin? Do you want to know what it's like to be a soul where you actually know what you're creating with those around you? And how many people start to laugh when they say, do you think this soul here is going to take on your burdens for you? I did. In certain scenarios, I had to unwind that vision for most. That's what gets unwound for the most part, is this nature of the sinners of the world. And that's why most people don't want to go down that path of soul, because in essence, they're going to say, but I don't like that vision. I don't want to be a part of that vision. You cannot disconnect from soul vision, people. Some will say they're connecting from outer visions. It's still all. That's the love of all. So that's why many will actually choose the vision of soul, because they have a comfort level of that vision. I don't want to be a part of all's where so many people go. They do not want to be a part of all because they are afraid of who they might find when they look inside. Am I creating havoc for the family around me? Why? Because they don't like who I am? Or is it because they just don't know who I am? That's usually what happens with soul work. It's an unveiling of who we are on a soul level. Okay. I happen to be a guide, and I also happen to have channeling as an aspect of who I am. When I go to the soul of soul, this is another vision that someone's trying to place upon me versus the idea of the, winding up of soul embodiment, or over soul. And we want to talk about that. There are levels of soul visions, and it's beautiful. So, but that's the nature of your higher self, your soul. That's one level of understanding that you can reach, and then that's when you can attract all those souls around you that say, I love you for who you are. Tell me who I am. Am I the best of the best for the next generation? That's where Brenda lands for her guidance. I'm not here for those who are stuck in soul vision of past. It's not past. It's of old. It's still beautiful for those that need it. But for the next generation of soul workers, they're going to come rising very fast and very hard. And they need the love of all in order to do the work that needs to be done. And what that means is that they come in without a lot of the baggage that we were conditioned with. And that means different things for different people. I often put psychology ahead of religion in my vision. It's the natural place to well, it's like liars. I am dealing with liars, and I want to talk to you about this. There are people who will say, I know your education is not of the highest, and I want to talk to you. Do you know that when you go to soul, I now have my PhD in psychology, and it's clinical, and it's like visual, spatial visions. I also have access to that. I create from a place of soul visions, creating from other visions of who I am. So I now have access to the all of who I am. That's the beauty of it. I could come through with guidance from Jung as well as from those visions of whatever vision of psychology I would have gone to. That's beautiful. I love you. That's the strength of it. So you don't need to rely on the idea of I'm less than. You don't become less than when you go to soul. You are inhabiting the beauty of all. And that's the nature of it. And then you hit those high notes and you go, I feel great because I utilized a system that had me hitting different high notes, right? It's the vibration of love for those souls that I could create with. My soul knows how to give me those visions. I can hang with the best of them. I can hang with some kind of shady characters in my mind. Not when you go to soul vision, and when you do that, you have to make sure you align with the idea that I'm hitting those higher notes, so I'm hitting those higher souls. Okay, and this was played out for me beautifully in it's like the trap of my mind. You can feel like it's like a trap. People will start to challenge your visions and say, I have other visions. Create with it. If it serves you well, create with the beauty of it. Don't look back. Keep moving forward. This is my heart. Your soul will guide you back when it's needed to heal some vision or to play it out again so you can learn from it. But most of all, we keep aiming forward, right? We keep going. We don't need to revisit everything and everybody in our past as if they were somehow what? Not acknowledged for the beauty and the lessons in which they, granted us by being part of our soul. That's the beauty of light. We don't have to dishonor any soul vision. What we have to do is say, what are they here to show me? I love you. What's that? That's guidance from Jesus. There's more to it than that. He's got a lot of soul work coming through for his soul at some point, because Brenda was resisting it like crazy, because she's like, oh God, I don't want to keep hearing more and more about Jesus when I know that there's another soul coming through that's got the skinny on what's going to be happening. That's the beauty of it. I deal with all souls. And it can be a hard road to travel. I would want most people just to align with the vision of I am of love, I love who I am of soul, and I'm beautiful in my beauty. I'm amazing and I'm honoring of everybody that walks across my path. That's the nature of also suicide souls. There are many that have done that vision and were being sent to those places of, quote, hell. And in essence, it's unwound for the most part. People create various visions, but if we honestly think that we're going to lift people up by telling them they're going to a bad place, that's not really the vibration we want to go through, is it? It has its benefits, is what some would say, right? I've garnered the attention of many by doing that vision. That's what some would say. Is it the way to go in the end? Others will say these are conscious choices made by conscious people, right? Conscious souls. It depends. When you go through the process of soul embodiment, we want everyone to know that it's like you can have those visions of trauma brought to you, and then they have to be replayed and, purged in essence. I no longer create from the place of trauma. I don't reinforce trauma. I don't reinforce victimhood. I don't reinforce the idea of I need to be safe. I don't reinforce the idea that I am needing protection. I do not need to be saved, nor do I need to be held in the arms of an angel. But I know souls that do. Okay? So with that in mind, I just want to say, love yourselves gently through the process of soul. You're going to be seeing more of those visions of how we attract our soulmates, or how we attract our clients, or how we attract the people that come into our hearts. And it's the nature of love to be able to do that vision and to honor the vision that they pop in, right? They just pop in. There's more. It's like the play of life. It's a beautiful vision of collective guidance that'll come through. So with that in mind, I'm going to say thank you for your wisdom, because you all bring it to the sessions when you come. And thank you for your hearts. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for your own soul's wisdom. You're beautiful in it no matter where you lie. You just have to tap into it. So take care and have an amazing, amazing day.